Hello, hello. I'm just going to take my headphones off. I'm back. Did you miss me? Sorry about all the faffing around. Um, oh, that's better. Um, I probably should get my hair cut and then I won't have to keep clipping it back. I had to do a Zoom meeting earlier on, and so therefore I was wearing headphones because that's how I do the meeting, because I have to be able to hear what's going on when I'm in the meeting. So I'm also just peering over the edge of my book to try and see what's going on in the background because um, I probably have to sort something out just because that's the way it is. Um, a few tips and tricks. No, tips are later. Sorry, I'm getting distracted, aren't I? Hi, how are you? I hope you're well wherever you are in the world. And if you're not, I hope we can provide some light entertainment for you. We don't intend for this to be heavy. We expect it to be just random, bit of fun, nonsense, and some story reading from old books. I think we're probably going to finish the book today. We'll see how we go. Um, I know that we've got one fairly new avid follower over on YouTube, and thank you very much for all the comments and the likes and all those things. And if you haven't yet discovered that option, go to my YouTube channel, this is if you're on Twitch, and have a look through my playlists and you will see the old books that I have previously read, old as in ones I've already done. And I'm just giving you the link for that. There you go. And feel free to leave comments there too, preferably nice ones, because we're trying to keep this a positive place and a positive experience for everybody, and everybody gets to see the comments over there. If you're on YouTube and you actually want to be able to be part of the video in a small way, you won't get to see yourself, obviously. You also won't get to see your own comments on YouTube, but if you want to be part of the conversation where I'm referencing what you've said in video, what you've written in the chat, then come over to Twitch when I'm live. My Twitch channel, there's no point in me typing it in there. Actually, I was wondering if didn't I? Oh, look at this. Let's see if this is any help. There's my Twitch link right there. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to be part of me reading it live and reading out the comments that you make about things, whether appropriate, obviously, because it's a family-friendly channel, then there's the link for you. Oh, look, if I actually keep my arms up like that, you can read it better. There you go. So that's my link over on Twitch. It's really easy to find, actually. And I'll just get that out of the way for now. What else? Sorry. I'm back at home, obviously, because you can see my normal overlay and you've got me doing fancy things. Oh, glasses, catching bits of hair. Sorry, don't want to pull my hair out. My overlay doing fancy bits of things with words and stuff like that. And the new thing, I try not to drop lots of new things all at once just because I'm not always great at getting them sorted out. But the newest thing is up there. If you're watching on Twitch, you will see that I have the current time, day, and date that I am reading in New Zealand. So that's just because a lot of people are in different time zones. So they may not be on Friday, they may be on Thursday. It may not be 3 o'clock in the afternoon for them. It may be 4 o'clock in the morning, wherever they are. And so it's a way for us to actually understand a little bit about where each other is, for me anyway, the fact that I can actually put the time and date up there for you. And I figured out how to do it because OBS has all sorts of clever little functions that you can use. Now, I have remembered to turn the chat on. I haven't yet got the jigsaw puzzle set up, and I'm just about to do that. I was about to do it. I copied the links I needed. I was about to do it when I realised I needed to actually get the broadcast system working so that people would get notifications that I was live. I try to do them early so that if there are bots that come into the channel, they will be gone and out of the way before we actually get to the story time. And it's been observed over a number of years now that a lot of bots will arrive in a channel within the first 10 minutes of when it starts broadcasting. And so therefore I will turn it on 10 minutes beforehand. And it also means that cross-platform notifications, such as notification that goes to my Discord server, should be in the Discord server that I am live, in enough time for you to come to the channel when I'm live and be able to catch the beginning of me reading or talking or whatever it is I'm doing. Then you don't feel like you've missed out and it's like, oh, I can't be bothered now because I missed out on the beginning. Not that it matters too much with the way I read and I chat before I read. But anyway, all that sort of stuff. So that's just in case you've always been wondering why it is I actually start the stream before 3 o'clock, even though I talk about streaming at 3. And when you arrive before 3 o'clock, I'm not actually talking to you. That's part of why. One is the bots, system security, and 2 is notifications going to other platforms, and 3 is if you come before 3 o'clock and I am already have the channel active, even if I'm not talking, then Twitch, if you are not subscribed, will try and, whenever you come, Twitch will probably try and show you some videos, some adverts. Usually it's within the first 2 minutes of when you arrive on a channel that happens, if the person that you are viewing is either affiliate or subscriber, which is really the only way that Twitch gives you any money off what you're doing, if you are going to make any, well, subscriptions, you get them too. Anyway, so if you want to avoid the adverts, when you first arrive, come before 3 o'clock New Zealand time and have a look up there to see what time that is compared with yours, because I'm not going to convert for everybody, sorry. But if you have a look at, if you arrive before 3 o'clock, then Twitch will show you your advert for the next half an hour, whatever. I'm not sure how often they show them, because I'm not actually scheduling them specifically. And when it's time for me to start reading, you'll get the full undiluted story. And I'm just going to move this because I don't like that beam interrupting with the picture. Right, what else is going on? Hi Blue, great to have you here. Good to see you here. Yes, there's a word for that where you say something and then you say the same thing again but slightly differently. But it's to do with words and sentences. Clear, concise. There are a whole lot of words that we used to have that we would recite, collections of words. Anyway, avoiding of repetition was kind of one of them, but there's a special word for it where you're doubling up on words or saying the same thing, and I do that a lot. Sorry. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're here, and that's wonderful. And I'm so glad you can be here too. I'm just checking a notification because I need to make sure it's working, and that one is working, and that is yay. Go back to where that one was. Don't think there was anything else there I needed. No, sorry, this is, yeah, I know this is streaming housework I should have done before, but I hadn't. Would you like to know why? Because I was hosting a Zoom meeting before I did this, and then I had to go and get myself something to eat, which I haven't yet eaten. And we will talk about food shortly, remember? It's part of the channel tips and tricks. Just all that sort of stuff. And no, I don't need to look through that. And yes, I am going to go back up here, go to the right place, make sure that one's out of the way. It's like housework, but it's on the computer. But it means I can be here, so that's good. I do have to try not to get quite so distracted by it all, though. It's just one of those things. I'm sorry. Right. So I do have some puzzles. That's what I was going to do. I was going to put the puzzle in there. So if you've got anything that you want to let me know about, please type it in the chat now. That's over there for you guys who are watching on Twitch. I know I don't show it on my overlay, but that's because on the overlay you can't interact with it. But if you are watching it where the video is in full screen, usually there is a button somewhere on the bottom corner of the video screen where you can get it to show you the video be a little bit smaller, but you can actually see what the chat is doing. and you can type in the chat and be part of the conversation. This is assuming that you are signed into Twitch. If you're not, then sign up or sign in. It's free. And then you can be involved with the conversation too. I'll get back to talking about bots shortly, and I'll try not to do a really long rant about bots this time. We'll see. Now, I'm going to get you a picture here that you can do as a jigsaw puzzle. I think this one might be a good starting one just because it looks like it's slightly easier. I'll get this going and then leave it open for you guys to do if you want to. And then I'll get on with the story. I need to do that and I need to do that so that I can get this set up for you. I'm going to leave it at 110 pieces at the moment just because sometimes it's good to start off with one that's not too complicated when you first get going for the day. And yes, it's noisy again. Funny that. Not. Move that one out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. Put the link up in here for you. Getting a routine going, so that's good. I need to actually write up what my streaming routine should be so that I make sure I cover everything I need to cover. That would help, wouldn't it? Whoops. And save. That is saved. Yes, you can type jigsaw now anytime you want. That was kind of a half burp, half hiccup. It was distracting me. Right. Are there any things I need to say? Okay, I'm going to just say hi to everybody because if I put the command for hi in, it'll give you a little bit of information. And then I'll give you my socials one. And that'll show you how to find me on Twitch and on Instagram. I actually posted directly to Twitter for once because I think I've turned off my if this then that thing that relays the information from Instagram across to Twitter, and I wanted them to know that I was going live because some of the people who come and watch us join in here on the channel come via Twitter, and it makes it a little bit easier if they can find us. What else? I'm pretty sure there was something else I was going to do too. What was that? Oh, you're welcome to remind me because my brain has suddenly gone blank. Right, time to talk about the bots. If you are watching chat, you will see what I'm doing, I think. Right, I am going to ban a bot. So what you do to ban a bot, if you are actually a streamer or a moderator, is you type in /ban if you're using OBS or Twitch itself. And then you paste, then space, and then you paste in the username. Copy the username because some of them use numbers instead of letters and it's not always obvious, or lowercase compared with uppercase, and sometimes you can type it in incorrectly. So I typed in /ban space and then I pasted in the name of a bot, and they are now no longer active in my channel, which means that if somebody gifts some subscriptions, they can't get that, and only real people can get it, the subscription. That's a really good reason to ban bots on your Twitch channel. And the reason I'm talking about it, even if you aren't a streamer, is because I think it's probably a good idea that you know that us as streamers, some of us, try to actually look after you, our community. And if I talk about it, you get a bit of an understanding of some of the things we have to deal with and why. Another thing is we're actually trying to look after your, not just the interaction side of the community, but also making sure that other people are not stealing information. So one of the things that some bots, not all of them, some bots do, is they harvest information from people who are active in a channel. And so if you ban them, they are no longer able to be there in the channel. Hi, Auntie. Great to have you here. Hello from the other side of the world to you too. And I hope it's not too hot and stuffy over there. I'm guessing you're heading into autumn shortly. That would be 4 or 5 days from now, technically, on the calendar, if you're going by that version of autumn. We're heading for spring, yay. But we'll still have bad weather, just because that's New Zealand. We have variable weather. It's always intense, well, often intense. Anyway, so carrying on with the bots thing, which I do from time to time. Um, oh, escaping to the beach and a beach in the month. That's fabulous. Enjoy. I'm jealous. I'm assuming it's going to be a comfortably warm beach with comfortable levels of sunshine and shade, and that it is for a holiday. Good. Are you able to say, broadly speaking, what sort of area? Sort of like one of the coasts of North America or the Caribbean or something like that? Yeah, go for the puzzle. Good on you. That's the way. So carrying on with the bot chat. So one of the things they can do, some of the bots do, it depends on how someone has programmed them, is that they can actually take note of the information of people who are chatting in the chat on a channel when it's live, when it's the stream is live, because your information is useful to somebody. The fact that you are a real person, you are interacting, means that when they sell information, they can sell information that is for people, actual people. And so, therefore, someone who wants to buy information, they want real people information, not made up information. Riding horses on the beaches of North Carolina and eating lots of seafood. Wonderful. Make the most of it, thoroughly enjoy it. Do not fall off the horse unless you fall into the water, please. We do not want to hear of injuries, not serious ones anyway. Make the most of all the seafood too. I've heard it's fabulous around there on the coasts of the Carolinas. Enjoy it for me. I do not enjoy seafood, unfortunately, but I love people enjoying it. I wish them all the best and eat all of the seafood for me because I can't eat it. Not for allergy reasons, but just because my mouth and my stomach do not appreciate it in any way, shape, or form. And I know it's not from lack of trying because my dad used to be a commercial fisherman. I have relatives in Eastern Canada. Oh, I've got relatives all across different bits of Canada, not so intensely in the middle. And I remember going and visiting and staying with them for quite some time and being given this wonderful treat out at the beaches in Nova Scotia. We went out to the family holiday home and they have great big, all sorts of wonderful feasts and things out there. We went out there for Canadian Thanksgiving, actually. Yeah, like you and olives, I understand. It's one of those things. It's just one of those things. Your mouth says something about food. Just listen to it. Unless it's actually your first experience of a food, and it is for some people it's just they need a little bit of time to adjust and get used to something. But if you've had the experience enough before, you know if it's not working. So for me, seafood of any form, fish, shellfish, all of those, it's just a waste. Other people can enjoy it, and I would rather that they enjoyed it instead of wasting some of it on me because they're trying to be nice. Anyway, so we were out there, and we one of the stages of the year that we were there, we had Canadian Thanksgiving. Part of the time we were there, we also had a cookout at the beach, and there was, I'm trying to think of the right word, lobster, fresh lobster, freshly cooked fresh lobster, freshly caught, freshly cooked fresh lobster. And everybody was raving about it and really wanted me to have some and wanted me to enjoy this wonderful experience because a lot of the family, when they're not out at the holiday home, were, and it's not fancy, seriously, this is like where I live in New Zealand, the family has land here because nobody wanted it at the time when they actually bought it. They got it cheap, super cheap, because it was out in the middle of nowhere. Now, I mean, we're only an hour away from the city centre. Anyway, carrying on. So for the ones who were the city dwellers but had holidays out at the family cottage, the seafood was a wonderful experience for them, and so therefore they want to share it with us. And unfortunately, I tried it. I gave it a serious go, like a lot of serious goes to enjoy it. Did not work. Didn't throw up, but definitely didn't enjoy it. And in the end, I've got my great aunt who lived in China tried this with me with something else, and she said, "Look, stop being polite and just spit the thing out." Not for the seafood, but for another thing she was getting me to try. And I'm so glad she said that because I really wish people actually realize that if you are not enjoying it, there's no point in getting you to keep eating it. But if you love it, go for it. Make the most of it. You can eat all of mine as well. If anyone asks you why you're eating so much seafood, say, I'm eating jevvs. She said I could. Go for it. Yeah. You can officially say that. I don't mind. In fact, I say, not just I don't mind, I think that would be a great idea. Um, so back to the bots. Yes, I hadn't totally lost my train of thought. Back to the bots. So we've had the ones who effectively steal people's information. There's the ones who, or harvest the information. There's the ones who steal subs. Technically, they're not stealing, but if someone is putting money into gifting subs to the community within a channel, that's their money. They have made the choice to save the money and to use it for this in support of the streamer. And bots that sit in your channel are eligible to receive subs as if they were real people. That's somebody else's money that they put into it. They want to share the channel experience. They want to share the community experience. And it's going to someone who's not going to appreciate it because they're not even a real someone. So that's another reason to ban bots. And then on top of that, there actually are some very clever but nasty bots around that can just disrupt things and do all sorts of, and then you get the ones that come in and start spamming the channel. Definitely don't want those, because they usually put in some pretty nasty stuff or filthy stuff, and this is a family friendly channel. Conversation wise, we're probably a G to a PG. Some of the story content, most of it's a G. I would say there's some of it that's a PG, just because old books often touch on concepts and use language that we wouldn't accept these days. So that's my rant about bots, and if you're not quite sure about all that sort of stuff, come over to the Discord server and ask if you really want to be able to, either if you're a streamer and you want to know more about it, or if you are a community member or potential community member, that anybody in chat, come over to the Discord server, which I'll give you in a moment, when I can get my fingers working instead of my mouth. There you go, there's Discord. Yeah, I know the noise comes clunk, clunk, clunk through from my keyboard into the microphone. Right, so if you come over there and ask about it, I will give it an extra information if you want it. Or I will copy and paste some from another online friend of mine who's really good on streaming security. So I haven't yet got it into the channel, but we have got a channel that's there for tech stuff. Ideally, it's for when we talk about things a little bit like this. This is where I can put that information if people want to pick up on it. But it's also a place for putting information about apps and programs that we use or have used that we really appreciate, that we think others might want to know about. So I put in a new post there the other day because I asked somebody to remind me to put a post to start the channel, and I'm pretty sure that was, is it Q? Coleslaw, is it you that is Watermelon Maiden, or is that Rich Gay Aunt who's Watermelon Maiden? I'm sorry, my brain is not adding up the pieces. People have two different names depending on whether they're streaming or whether they're on Discord, just because of the way that, yep, it was you, Q. Wonderful, thank you. So Q had reminded me, yes, fabulous. Q had reminded me to start the new channel for the tech stuff. Yes, it is Coleslaw, that's good. So the channel is called, in case anyone needs it, it's in the main text channels section, not the book section. So when you first go over to my Discord server, you'll have announcements, which has got your rules, essential reading, and then actual announcements, which is meant to be where it tells you when I go live. So that's another reason to join our Discord server, because it will notify you that I've gone live. If you're on Discord at the time, it will show you. And then there's the bit that's just called text channels. So that's where you can write your intro to say who you are and the part of the world that you live in. You don't have to get super specific. I don't want you to dox yourself. Sometimes it's quite cool to know that the people you're interacting with live in XYZ places. So like I've got a friend who lives in the Midlands over in England. He does action camera reviews and stuff like that, and he goes out sometimes to the estate of a country park, you know, one of those manor houses type things, and does video stuff there, not of the house, but of this wonderful setting with the hillsides and the views across into the valleys in the distance and all sorts of things like that. And it's fantastic. And so he'll quite happily say the name of the town that he lives nearest to. And it's cool because I used to live in England. And so I look at the map and I go, oh, we drove past there. And I didn't even know it was there, the manor house and all that sort of stuff. So it's all this sort of stuff actually just sort of adds sometimes to the feeling of community. So in the intros channel, you're welcome to say that sort of information about yourself, but don't give away exactly where you live because that's inappropriate. Okay, we're a family-friendly channel. We don't do that sort of thing. So also in text channels, we've got story ideas and new words. So in the story ideas and new words bit is if you've got any suggestions for new books to read and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'll read out the caption about it just in case. Make suggestions of vintage children's stories you'd like read here. I'd prefer that they are really old and therefore in the public domain. You can also post the old words that you discovered in today's read. Share what you thought they meant, not just what they actually mean. Because often it's fun to actually go, I've heard that word before, and I always thought it meant this. Because often you find that other people had a similar thought too. And it's really cool to actually discover all these things that we have in common as well as things that we have that are different. Jonathan's Gamecast, who's not here at the moment, on our Discord server, his name is Novalis, had actually said Murtheres, asking about a particular word because he reads court records, letters, various documentation and communication from the Tudor period, actual documents, what they're digital copies of, and he reads them online, like I'm reading when I'm not talking here on Twitch. He reads them on Twitch because he is gathering together the ideas and information and the flavour and feel and the actual historic timeline and all sorts of stuff like that to do a game that is set in that particular period. I think it's around the time specifically of Elizabeth I. I'll actually give you a shout out so you can follow him even if he's not currently online. See if that worked. Yes, it gave me the link correctly, which means it worked. Wonderful. Great job on the puzzle. Blue has just left the game because they've finished the puzzle. Fantastic. That's a little fishing boat because of the story that we've currently got going on. Beached boat near Hastings in England by Carsten Larson, and it's originally sourced from Shutterstock. So Hastings in England is along the south coast. That is where, it's not exactly where, it's near where the Battle of Hastings was fought. It's called the Battle of Hastings. That's the one where the Normans beat the English. So William the Conqueror, he was the head of the Normans that were invading England. The Battle of Hastings was fought in 1066. Now, I didn't do history lessons at school, partly because a lot of it was learning just random as information that I find hard to retain. But for some reason, with the various books and stuff I've read over the years, that is information I have retained, that the Battle of Hastings was fought in 1066. And the chap who won was William the Conqueror. He was the Norman. Also known as William the, insert inappropriate word for our language filters here, to do with illegitimate sons. There you go. I can't remember what the specifics are of his parentage, but I'm sure that Jonathan would be able to tell you all about that too, just because he has a particular interest in history, and others will too, I'm sure. Anyway, so the place that the actual battle was fought was inland from Hastings. Hastings is down on the coast, and we think of it as being at Hastings because the name of the battle is the Battle of Hastings. You know, Hastings? That must be where it was fought. No, it was actually fought inland a bit at a place called, wait for it, what do you think it's called? I'll see if I can pull it up on my map actually. Let's find map, interact. I'll just turn off that puzzle for a minute because it's going to distract me. jigsaw, turn off, map, interact. No, make map visible, then interact. Okay. And you'll see it shortly, but not just yet. Sorry. I'll try and put my head in the way so you can't see. Right, because I wanted you to have a guess at where it is. So here's Hastings, here. The place that the battle was actually, oh, and I'll zoom out a bit further so you can see why. So the Normans came from France. This is France over here. This is France. This bit, no, not that way. This bit, no, not that. This bit, in line with my hand, there. This bit here, this bit of land this way is France. All this down here. That's Belgium up there, actually. So this is France, and they came over from this chunk of land over here up to England to invade because William believed that he had a right to the throne of England because of his parentage. And that's something to do with his being a half-son or an illegitimate son of one of the royals that was involved, because not everything was the geographic boundaries we have today. So technically it was reasonably easy to just cross that bit of coast. It makes sense, you know, if you're going to invade, take the short distance. So let's come back in, and we're zooming in here. I'll keep it where you can see it so I'm not so much in the way. This bit of coast here, that, you can't see my mouse, so there's no point with it. That bit there is Hastings. I'll zoom it in a bit more. Try and keep it so you can see it. So that's Hastings, the town of Hastings. And up here, if you come in from the coast, is this place here. So Hastings, coming in over the land, over to here. And that thing that looks like a castle is Battle Abbey. That abbey was built on the grounds, on the land area where the Battle of Hastings was fought. So Battle Abbey is now actually a school. In fact, I think when I was there, it might have been a girls' school. But the reason why Battle Abbey is there is because William felt that it was after having won the fight. Hi, Squibble, great to have you here. I'm just giving another history lesson, totally kind of unrelated to what we're doing, but I don't even, I'll remember eventually why I got onto it. I'm sure there was a specific reason. So this is a town or village called Battle. The dot is actually just where so you've got the high street that runs through here. English villages, English towns, they have the main road through a village or a town is often called the high street. So if people talk about going to the main shops, the fancy shops, the ones that are the flagship shops for their town, they will go to the shops on High Street. I'm going shopping on High Street. That's what they call it. In New Zealand, we talk about Queen Street because we had Queen Elizabeth II came and visited New Zealand on a tour sometime after she had her coronation. I can't remember exactly how long after. And so a lot of our main streets were named from King Street to Queen Street in honour of her visit, and they've stayed that. Even when we get another, when it swaps to being a king again for the head of the British Commonwealth, it'll stay as Queen Street just because it's so much part of how we see it now. Anyway, so this is Battle, the actual kind of, it's more of a village than a town, as you can see. Otherwise, it would look all built up. Let's see if we can see it this way. So yeah, there's houses there, but it's not huge. Now, William the Conqueror felt terrible about the way he had handled the whole situation and invading, and didn't give it all back, but the way it played out. The English forces had been in a fight against some of William's other forces, I think, further up north, and then they had marched flat out down to the south to meet him and to deal with him. They actually did really well considering all that. Anyway, so he felt some remorse over the amount of loss of life that had happened in the battle. This is from what I remember, not having done history. Okay, and so he decided to found an abbey on this piece of land here, which is where the battle was fought. This whole area here is where the battle was fought, the Battle of Hastings. And so that's why there was a place there called Battle Abbey, because he started it. He gifted the land for it and said this is what it's to be used for. And it was used as an abbey for a time. And then Henry VIII came along, decided that because he wanted some more wives and they weren't going to let him have a divorce, he would get rid of the Catholic Church and start up his own branch, which was the Anglican Church. Anglican, English. And have a little bit of his fingers in a few more pies to do with churches and stuff like that. And what followed was what they call the dissolution of the monasteries. And that was where, because the monasteries were all to do with the Catholic way of doing some aspects of church stuff, part of it was because he wanted to swap wives. That was only part of it. Part of it was because he actually also wanted the value of lands and properties and being able to gift them away or keep them for himself, because a lot of the monasteries had actually grown quite rich because they did farming really well. They had basically volunteer labourers. They had quite a lot of influence in the areas around them. They influenced the towns and the villages that were nearby. And it was power that William wanted for himself, not to be given to the Pope way off in some other country who didn't agree with him. So you had the dissolution of the monasteries, which was basically that, monasteries are now illegal because I want the land that they're on. I want to give it to the lords who are going to support me, and so therefore you can't have a monastery there anymore, or a convent or anything else like that. It was very anti-Catholic. And that was partly why there was all this tension through the Tudor period, because Henry was I think the first Tudor king. Jonathan's not here to rescue me from digging holes for myself in history. And one of his children was Mary. No, one of his children was Elizabeth. And she took one stance, and then another one of her siblings had another religious stance. So you had a swapping of Catholic, anti-Catholic, Catholic, anti-Catholic, and all these different things going on. It would have been a horrible time to be involved with any of the different churches, but eventually it kind of settled down. Anyway, yeah, so that's Battle and Battle Abbey, and Battle Abbey being part of a school now, a girls' school. I'm pretty sure it's a girls' school because I have this image of somebody saying, it's always amused me how, this famous battle site, men being really angry and killing each other, and it's now the site of a girls' school. Was how they described it, which is why it's always amused me, the fact that it was a school now, and probably why, yes, indeed, it was actually a girls' school. Anyway, so I'm just saying hi over in the Discord to Squibble, because Squibble has just arrived in our Discord server. Yay! She does awesome stuff in her server. She's got all sorts of things set up, and her one posts video links for different YouTube videos for things that are interesting, and all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to give you a shout out for Squibble as well. Squibble does artwork. Gorgeous illustrations are the stuff that I particularly pick up on that she does. I'm sure she does other stuff as well, but whenever I've been watching, she's been doing illustrations. Yeah, Aunt, I know what you mean. I'm just going to read Rich Gay Aunt's comment. As an American, it's so wild hearing about how deeply historical places can become so mundane and normal now, so many years later. My emphasis in there was terrible. Yeah, so places that have so much significance just become normal. Battle, the fact that it was such a significant location, it had this abbey, which would have meant that it was the centre for a lot of things in the broader community out in the farming areas around it, because abbeys did become a very influential centre and towns often grew up around them. And yeah, now it's just a village. technically it might be a town because English have different rules for what is a village, what is a town, what is a city. To be a city in England, it has to have a cathedral. So it can be a tiny little town, but if it gets itself a cathedral somehow, technically it becomes a city. We don't have that in New Zealand. It's purely to do with numbers. Anyway, you're most welcome for the shout out. Yeah, I did. No, not a problem. It means that you can now actually comment more accurately and stuff. I don't even know if it was actually letting you comment on the Discord server before, but yeah, it may also be that you joined before I got the new rule system set up. I want to do one where I don't have to specifically go and check it every day and see if somebody new has joined and then allow them to actually be part of the community. As long as they agree to certain things, I think they should be able to. I can remove them if I need to, but anyway, I'm not going to do that if we can help it. Right. So that's right, I was telling you about the Discord server. Well, someone's just been using it, haven't they? Right. So there's a section there about story ideas, new words. I did talk about that. And I talked about, that's how I got onto it somehow. Jonathan doing his game study. And so he has asked about a particular word because I have often chatted with him when he's reading online, because he will read these texts. And some of the words can be a bit weird. And if you are familiar with how variable English can be, especially Old English, sometimes it can be easier to read it if you have others reading it with you. So you're reading it out loud from a text. The text is on the screen and they can see it and maybe give a bit of a nudge about what they think it might be. And you come up with an understanding that otherwise you didn't have between you, recognizing common root words and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's quite fun actually, but also a little bit of serious study. So he was asking one time in that the Story Ideas and New Words channel about a particular word, murtheress, Murtheress. And my thought was that it was actually basically a dialectic version of murderess, because there are English people from certain regions who soften their D's to a TH, but when somebody else is writing it down, they write it as a TH because that's what they're hearing the person saying, or the local spelling actually may be with a TH. And in the context that we had, it did seem accurate that that was what it meant. Right, so the other sections are things like general book illustrations, illustration stuff, including your own, and nobody has posted there, and you are most welcome to. And if Squibble wants to kick it off and doesn't mind it being somewhere else, she's most welcome to actually put one of her book illustrations in that channel. Doesn't matter if it's relevant to any of our books. That's okay. The reason I got that specific channel set up was because sometimes people, when they're listening to stories, will scribble around and sketch things as a way of keeping their brain focused on the story, and often the illustration they end up with, even if it's just a rough sketch thing, not accurate. You don't have to be good at drawing, okay? Please don't feel you have to be good at drawing, even though I'm sure that Squibble is. Just pretend that yours is as good as hers, because they are for you, okay? What you do is good. So if you find that you are actually coming up with these sketches and things like this because of the stories we're reading, doesn't matter if they're nothing like the illustrations in the books, the original illustrations that I'm showing you from a book, stick them in that channel, because then others can start to get their imagination stimulated as well. So it's a great way of doing it. And any other illustrations you want to share, we've got a little channel like that in one of the autism Discord servers that I'm part of, that I'm also moderating. And also, if there's any other discussion you want to make about illustrations and things like that, you can put that in there. If you've got stuff specific to a particular book, stick it, and there is a channel for that book, stick it in that book's channel. I don't have all my books done as channels. I'm meant to, because of my choice. I'm meant to have the illustrations for the different books I read, each in their own channel, just so you can follow them, because some of them, the illustrations, they're all line drawing style, because they're, no, nearly all, because the way the books are printed. Some of them, if you enlarge them to the size that they are from, so you click on the illustration that's in that channel and it opens up in Discord as a pop-up. Underneath it will say Open Original. If you click on those words where it says Open Original, it will open up a new tab in your browser and it will be the actual size of the illustration that has been used from the original ebook scan, except for ones I had to do. And yay, fantastic, Squibble's got it going for us. One of my recent Wizard of Oz illustrations when it was halfway done. And then she's actually also got the source it came from, which is over on Instagram. And I remember seeing this one at various stages. It's really cool. And it's very inspirational. I love your watercolor work. Other work too, but that's what I see most of the time. Anyway, so if you have a look at the work that goes into these illustrations, and this is one of the reasons why I love watching Squibble working, is because you see the understanding of story, but also understanding of visual representation. The choices, like if it's a coloured illustration like she does, the choices of how you use intensity of colour to portray distance and clarity of detail. And some of the details on the work that she does, like these little tiny dots for flowers on a hillside. They're wonderful. And they just make it feel so much more real because you look at it and you go, it reminds you of a particular type of thing. So that's why I often talk about sharing things that remind you to do with the story. And you, in the book channels, that is what those are for in part, is so that you can actually share if you've been somewhere and it reminded you of something that was in a book, or when I'm reading a story, you're getting a memory of a place that you've been, and you find a picture online or one of your own pictures of it, photographs, not just illustrations. You're most welcome to share those in the relevant channel for that particular book. And if I don't have that book up, please ask me to put it up, because it's probably just because I've forgotten to do it. And I just need to make some effort and put some time into it. I have the digital files. If I've shown them to you when I'm reading, I have the digital files for them. It's just a matter of getting it sorted. That's all it is. Yeah, I'm in case you didn't know, I have ADHD, and it means that I can get very easily distracted by all sorts of wonderful things. But that's cool. It's also partly why you'll see me fiddling around. It's just one of the ways of coping with ADHD. If you can keep yourself a little bit doing something, it means that you can keep your brain focused on something. It's also part of autism spectrum disorder, which I am part of as well. And autism gives me a wonderful ability to make connections between bits of information, and be able to, given enough time, be able to say, well, this is what they're saying. This is actually related to that. And somebody else goes, huh, what are you talking about? And then I can actually go, well, via this, and this network here, this is how they connect. And somebody else will say, actually, that makes a lot of sense. I never saw it before, but it makes a lot of sense. And then they can chase it further. And it's just one of those things that autistic brains seem to be really good at doing, is seeing connections that others don't see. Great for all sorts of things, especially getting distracted and being able to deep dive into information and just lapping up the information. Yeah. And even though people who have ADHD are easily distracted, they also have the ability to hyperfocus on something that does catch their attention. So those two things together, ooh, killer skills. Right, let's get back to actually discussing our story and reading it, shall we? Oh, I haven't given you my intro tips. If you are new here, hi, I'm Jev. I read stories. We are currently reading the story of Doctor Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. The stories I read are old children's books. They are public domain books. And a great source for public domain books, that is books that are in the public domain, they are no longer within copyright, is Project Gutenberg. And if you are watching this on Twitch, you will see I've just put a link for it over in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sorry, I don't think I actually have one that's... that's an overlay to be able to show you. But if you look up Project Gutenberg, now Gutenberg is written with two E's, not an E and an A. Okay? No, not an E and a U, which is what I used to always spell and I can never find it. Guten, which I knew, B-E-R-G, not B-U-R-G. It's B-E-R-G. It's gutenberg.org, and you'll find all sorts of public domain books that you can download for free and read. They are not library loans. They are actually the digital copy you download, you can keep and do whatever you want with, basically, without slandering anyone or anything like that. Libel, slander, don't be stupid. So there are non-fiction books there. There are chapter books, normal adult books there, and there are also children's books there. It's a smaller section because there have been less children's books written than adults' books that have gone into public domain. There are some books I haven't read here and cannot read for a time yet. There's a series of books I really want to read to you, but I'm going to have to wait 15 years before I can, because I can't get permission from the estate owner who holds the copyright to be able to read those, because they are still within copyright. That's the only time I will read a non-public domain book these days, is if I have specific permission, explicit permission to do so. I did that for Matariki earlier in New Zealand winter. It's Matariki is the Maori observance of the New Year, which comes in winter, which for us in New Zealand, if aside from Matariki, it's an unusual thing, because traditional non-Maori New Year is in the middle of our summer. And so we're used to New Year being part of the whole summer holidays and all that sort of stuff. And Christmas is also in the summer holidays. It's the start of summer holidays, that sort of thing. So for us, generationally living in New Zealand, summer is associated with those things. And so for us, it's unusual to pause and think about things differently, thinking from the point of view of this, we're going from the old into the new. We're letting go of the things that were, and we're stepping forward into the things that are coming. We are recognizing and acknowledging the people who have gone before us, as well as looking forward and appreciating what they've done. We're missing them, we let go of them, we say thank you for the things that they have done for us, the way they have imparted into our lives, and we build that into our lives going forward. And that is all part of Matariki observance. Spending time together as a family, spending time together over food, because food is an important part of observing important dates and times of year, celebration, as well as a time of letting go, of grieving and mourning together. So Matariki is all of those things and a lot more in New Zealand. It's only just this year become a publicly observed holiday, and I'm so glad that it has. But because of that, because it became available, because I was gifted a book that is called The Seven Kites of Matariki, which is a modern myth-style telling of how Matariki came to be, the Matariki, the star cluster, came to be, commonly known in other countries as Pleiades or the Seven Sisters. Seven Sisters also being known in Japan as Subaru, and I have no idea how it's meant to be pronounced in Japanese, but it's also the brand name of a type of vehicle, because they use that as their icon, their logo. It was a book that I was gifted, and so I then approached the publishers to ask for permission for reading it here on Twitch, so that people could actually gain an extra little dimension to what Matariki is, or what New Year is. So for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, New Year for you is already in winter. That's normal for you, but it's not for us in this part of the world. It's the opposite for us. And so it was a great way to actually appreciate what New Year is about in a way that is probably more akin to what happens in the Northern Hemisphere traditionally, where it's come from as an observance. And so that is one book that I have read that is not in the public domain. There are a couple of others I've read, but they are not monetized in any way. I have not yet been asked to take down the YouTube videos of them. If I do get asked, I will do so. or if they ask me to just make them so they're not public, I will do that. But the Matariki book is not available through public search on YouTube. If you want to watch the video of it, it's only a single one, but because it's a children's picture book, the actual reading is very short. But I give a lot of additional information of activities that can be done around Matariki, the observance of Matariki. And that's all part of that video, and I talk about some links for different things. I think I even put those into the comments about it on YouTube. If you want to watch that video, you need to come to our Discord server and ask for the link, unless I've actually got the link in one of the channels. Probably have, but the shortcut is to ask for it. Or find me on Twitch and ask me there, and I can give you the link too. So it is available. They said I can have the video up for it on YouTube, but not to make it as publicly searchable. It had to be a unlisted video. That's what they call it over on YouTube. So there you go. My 3 tips for visitors, new community members. My 3 tips. I always have 3 tips. I was laughing the other day with my daughter because she has just had some surgery for her back, and her special number kept coming up in lots of different ways, and she had been a little bit nervous about some things, and because her special number kept coming up, it meant that it was easier for her to go forwards into the operation without it being quite so stressful. So for her special number is 7. For me, I hadn't actually thought about it until I started noticing it coming up all the time here. Mine seems to be 3. So if you're ever looking for me online, if you write jevvv, write it with 3 V's. It has 3 V's. If it doesn't have 3 V's, it is not me. Okay? There are other people who write themselves as Jev with 3 V's. If you're not sure, then look for jevvnz. So it's still got 3 V's, but it's also got NZ after it. So that's my handle over on YouTube, jevvnz. And you'll find me because there's no other jevvnz. I'm not quite sure what the context is for the others whose name is Jev, but they seem to be all Asians who are gamers or something, but not particularly active in the gaming community. I don't know. It's all very confusing, really, to this old lady. Anyway, so the 3 tips I have, yes, this is why I was talking about special numbers. I have 3 tips I try to give every time. Drinks, snacks, and comfort. So drinks, always make sure you have water handy. Your brain needs water to function. You'll also get headaches, bad headaches, if you don't have enough water. Water is essential to life. Your brain and your body need it. So I always have, I just wave my old water bottle at you. I love the bottle, but it's not safe to have with the way I wave my arms around. It's not safe to have the bottle open, as you've seen. So usually on stream I will drink from this, and I'm just going to anyway because I need to, sorry. But I usually also have another drink with me. My favourite drink is actually coffee. So I've got that there. I'm allowed 1 more at this time of day, and then that's it. I should actually hurry up and finish it, because otherwise it's too late. Snacks. Can't have a decent reading time without having some appropriate snacks for you. So that might be sweets, it might be fruit, it might be your lunch, it might be a midnight snack, it might be breakfast even. Toast. If buttered toast is your thing, go for it. So what I have for snacks today, I do have it here, I just have to get it out of the packet, my noisy cracker packet. For those of you who've been here before, you'll recognise it, the sound. So I have today some special Dutch cheese from the Dutch cheese shop down in Mercer, which is on the way down to Hamilton from Auckland. You can't really see it particularly well because it's just crumbly bits, but on top of my cracker I have some cheese made by Dutch people who live in New Zealand, and it's a Dutch cheese making method for making gouda, or gouda, I think is how they say it. This one has, and it's hard to see it well, let's see if I can make it clarify. I don't know how close this will zoom in and be accurate. Okay, it's got sun-dried tomato in it. This is gouda and sun-dried tomato. We've also got some downstairs, which has cumin seed in it. It is yummy. Very, very yummy. Gemeenjekaas. Look for gemeenjekaas. Cumin cheese. It's actually Gouda. Gouda cheese with cumin seed in it. And it's very, very yummy. That's my ASMR stint for today. Anyway, and I say Gouda that way because that's what I usually hear from them, but I used to call it Gouda. It doesn't really matter, whichever way you want to say it. That's another one of my commands. Right, so that's two things. I've got my snacks. Have you got yours? And comfort. Make sure you've got somewhere comfortable to sit or stand or lie or whatever it is you're doing, so that you can actually enjoy being able to have story time together. If you have to work, that's fine. Jonathan often has to work while I'm reading, and that's great because I'm keeping his brain occupied while he's having to do some other thing. Just mildly entertained, and he can just tune it out if he's got to concentrate on things for work. But otherwise, yeah, I'll wave my cushion when I find it. I tend to have props. I've got kids, they're adults now, but we homeschooled, and so I learned that if you can show someone something or get them to feel something, touch something while they're learning, it helps them to learn better. So this is my way of remembering, as I have actual things I show you. That's why I wave them at you, and it just sort of makes it look a bit more interesting in the picture too. So that's just my my wave around cushion, the one that I show you guys. Make sure you're comfortable. So 3 tips. I should do a command for that, shouldn't I? 3 tips. I do have a 4th tip, and I'm just using it at the moment, but this is the bonus tip. It's quite often it's a good idea to have a pencil and paper or pen and paper handy to write things down on. I will often write down something I intend to do after I've finished streaming, something to put into the Discord server, but also if there's a word I want to look up another time or a place I want to find out more about, things like that. It's really, really easy to just gloss over something that intrigued you at the time but never follow up on it. And if you write it down, you'll often find that you connect better with what it was in the story, what it was to do with in the story. So I think that's enough talking. Let's get on with reading. I think I've given enough information, haven't I? Right, so we are reading the story of Doctor Dolittle by Hugh Lofting, and this is chapter... Oh, I accidentally turned over too many pages. I definitely turned over too many pages. We're into the next chapter. Right, the 20th chapter, The Fisherman's Town, and this is why I had that fishing boat, and I'm going to, before I actually read, sorry, give you one more puzzle to get going with, and then it gives you something to do. I should have been doing that while I was talking, really. I think I got that. Did I? Yes, I did. Now I have to interact with it so that I can set it up for you and give you the link. If you're okay with it, I'm going to leave it with however many puzzle pieces that is, which is 104, unless you jump in really, 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 really quickly and tell me that you want more puzzle pieces or less. I'll give you a moment while I have some coffee. Have my cheese and crackers. That's yum. Sun-dried tomato and cheese all mixed together. Okay, we're going for it. We've got 104 pieces in this puzzle. Copy link. Get this out of the way. Put this into the command so everyone can pull up the command whenever they want, or somebody new can write it down. Or if you can't be bothered scrolling back through the chat, command is ready to go. Now I shall read. I'm Jev. I'm reading the story of Doctor Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. The 20th chapter, The Fisherman's Town. Remember the last chapter we had the boy that they rescued and they were trying to find his uncle, and his uncle was down inside this rocky island in a kind of like a hole in the ground. And the doctor managed to get down there and found him. Gently then, very gently, the doctor woke the man up. But just at that moment the match went out again, and the man thought it was Ben Ali coming back, and he began to punch the doctor in the dark. Ben Ali was the pirate who was so annoyed that this man wasn't going to be a sailor for him and sail the boat for him, that he threw him away on this bare piece of rock that's an island out in the middle of the ocean. But when John Dolittle told him who it was, and that he had his little nephew safe on his ship, the man was tremendously glad, and said he was sorry he had fought the doctor. He had not hurt him much, though, because it was too dark to punch properly. Then he gave the doctor a pinch of snuff, which is how they found him, remember, the smell of the snuff? And the man told how the Barbary dragon had put him on this rock and left him there, when he wouldn't promise to become a pirate. Barbary dragon was the nickname for the pirate. And how he used to sleep down in this hole because there was no house on the rock to keep him warm. That made a lot of sense. And then he said, "For 4 days I have had nothing to eat or drink. I have lived on snuff." "There you are," said Jip, the dog. "What did I tell you?" So they struck some more matches and made their way out through the passage into the daylight, and the doctor hurried the man down to the boat to get some soup. Good idea. When the animals and the little boy saw the doctor and Jip coming back to the ship with a red-headed man, they began to cheer and yell and dance about the boat, and the swallows up above started whistling at the top of their voices, thousands and millions of them, to show that they too were glad that the boy's brave uncle had been found. The noise they made was so great that sailors far out at sea thought that a terrible storm was coming. "Hark to that gale howling in the east," they said. And Jip was awfully proud of himself, though he tried hard not to look conceited. I just realised I've probably got illustrations I'm meant to show you guys. We'll find out. If I get to an illustration that I'm meant to be that I'm meant to be doing, I'll figure out what the link is meant to be and get it set up for you. Other than that, I'm just going to ignore it for now. Okay? Right. And Jip was awfully proud of himself, though he tried hard not to look conceited. When Dab Dab came to him and said, "Jip, I had no idea you were so clever," he just tossed his head and answered, "Oh, that's nothing special, but it takes a dog to find a man, you know. Birds are no good for a game like that." Then the doctor asked the red-haired fisherman where his home was, and when he had told him, the doctor asked the swallows to guide the ship there first. And when they had come to the land which the man had spoken of, they saw a little fishing town at the foot of a rocky mountain, and the man pointed out the house where he lived. And while they were letting down the anchor, the little boy's mother, who was also the man's sister, came running down to the shore to meet them, laughing and crying at the same time. She had been sitting on a hill for 20 days, watching the sea and waiting for them to return. And she kissed the doctor many times so that he giggled and blushed like a schoolgirl. And she tried to kiss Jip too, but he ran away and hid inside the ship. "It's a silly business, this kissing," he said. "I don't hold by it. Let her go and kiss Gub Gub, if she must kiss something." And this is where we're meant to have a picture, and I don't have one, so I'm going to get it sorted for you. So just hold your horses for a minute. We're nearly at the end of the book. There you go. So that is the man's sister, the little boy's mother. So there's Dr. Dolittle, and here she is giving him kisses, lots and lots of kisses. I'm guessing this is the fisherman, and this is his nephew, the boy's mother, the lady's boy. And there's Jip, the dog, running away because he doesn't like kisses. That's the doctor's top hat on top of his head. It looks a little bit odd there. Anyway, carrying on. The fisherman and his sister didn't want the doctor to go away in a hurry. They begged him to spend a few days with them, so John Dolittle and his animals had to stay at their house a whole Saturday and Sunday and half of Monday. And then all the little boys of the fishing village went down to the beach and pointed at the great ship anchored there and said to one another in whispers, "Look, that was a pirate ship, Ben Ali's, the most terrible pirate that ever sailed the seven seas. That old gentleman with the high hat who's staying up at Mrs. Trevelyan's." That's Cornish. Trevelyan is a Cornish name, I think. Cornwall, down in the bottom toe of England. Actually, let's bring that map back. Map. Oh, there it is. Map. Interact. Bring this over here. So if I do this, we go out, out, out. There's the south coast. If we keep going out, so this is the south coast along here. This is part of the south coast, and here's London. But if I move this out further and across, you will see that the bottom of England, so there's the toe of Kent, and then, which is here, this is like a knee to me. So there's London, this is Kent, Canterbury and all those places are there. This is Brighton. Sorry, I'm just having to get closer to the map to see it. So this is the south coast, where we were looking before. Hastings is along here. And then you come along, that's the Isle of Wight, and you keep coming along. This is Cornwall down here. This is Cornwall. And then you've got Devon and Dorset and a whole lot of things like that. So Trevelyan is a name that seems to be associated with the west of England, the West Country, which is Cornwall and Devon and some of the edges of some of the other counties in this area, because it comes out. This is Wales up here. So this is still part of England, Cornwall and Devon and Cornwall. So Trevelyan, that's the sort of area that they've come into if her name is Mrs. Trevelyan, because in a story like this, often the names that you use will be specific to the sort of part of England that the person would have come from, and it will be to evoke your understanding of place, your sense of connection with place. So often people will use regional surnames so that you grasp whereabouts the story is being told for the section without actually having to be told in so many words what it is, without having to have me pointing to maps. Anyway, right, so where do we get to? That old gentleman with his high hat who's staying up at Mrs. Trevelyan's, he took the ship away from the Barbary Dragon and made him into a farmer. This is the school kids. Look, who'd have thought it of him? Him so gentle-like and all. Look at the great red sails. Ain't she the wicked-looking ship? And fast? My! All those 2 days and a half that the doctor stayed at the little fishing town, the people kept asking him out to teas and luncheons and dinners and parties. All the ladies sent him boxes of flowers and candies, and the village band played tunes under his window every night. At last the doctor said, "Good people, I must go home now. You have really been most kind. I shall always remember it, but I must go home, for I have things to do." Then, just as the doctor was about to leave, the mayor of the town came down the street, and a lot of other people in grand clothes with him. Ooh, what's going on? Oh, what's going to happen? Ooh, big delegation. A lot of other people in grand clothes came with him, and the mayor stopped before the house where the doctor was staying as guest, and everybody in the village gathered round to see what was going to happen. We didn't know anything about this. It's something important because the mayor's here. After 6 page boys had blown on shining trumpets, in the movies, the sort of thing, the long ones, the heralds, that sort of thing, had blown on shining trumpets to make the people stop talking, the doctor came out onto the steps and the mayor spoke. "Dr. John Dolittle," said he. "It is a great pleasure for me to present to the man who rid the seas of the dragon of Barbary this little token from the grateful people of our worthy town." And the mayor took from his pocket a little tissue paper packet, and opening it, he handed to the doctor a perfectly beautiful watch with real diamonds in the back. Wow. Then the mayor pulled out of his pocket a still larger parcel and said, "Where is the dog?" Then everybody started to hunt for Jip, and at last Dab Dab found him on the other side of the village in a stable yard, where all the dogs of the countryside were standing round him, speechless with admiration and respect. When Jip was brought to the doctor's side, the mayor opened the larger parcel, and inside was a dog collar made of solid gold. And a great murmur of wonder went up from the village folk as the mayor bent down and fastened it round the dog's neck with his own hands. For written on the collar in big letters were these words, "Jip, the cleverest dog in the world." Then the whole crowd moved down to the beach to see them off, and after the red-haired fisherman and his sister and the little boy had thanked the doctor and the dog over and over and over again, the great swift ship with the red sails turned once more towards Puddleby, and they sailed out to sea while the village band played music on the shore. There you go. And that's the end of that chapter. Perfect timing because I need to have something to drink and something to eat. How about you? You've got a few moments, depending on how long I chat for, to go and get yourself something to eat and drink if you didn't have them already. And if you need to go to the loo. Sometimes it's a good idea to just sort of make sure that you don't need to interrupt anything else. Sip, yes, have a drink. That's the way. Sip, sip. It's another emote I could do as 3 tips. Emotes. Either as a single one or as 3. I need to get onto these, don't I? I'm going to have a think about what to do them, because my emotes, unlike Squibbles, which are wonderfully drawn ones because she does, that the little picture of the happy squibble hugging a heart, no, that one's a cup of tea, or coffee, holding on to a nice warm mug going, is one of her own. She does her own emotes. They're really cute and wonderful. I don't have those drawing skills. I don't have the drawing skills normally, but I also don't have them digitally. I did give it a go, but it was not successful. So in the end, instead of being annoyed with not being able to draw well, I decided, well, I'll make the most of this. Since I can't draw well digitally or otherwise, I shall actually instead use photos. So I'm not great at doing photo edits. There are a few things I've kind of been learning how to do, like how to put a rim light around something. Not like you would in real life, but, just like fun stuff where something glows, but not just with a white light like you normally do a glow, or a fuzzy shadow that's kind of ominous because it's this black cloud creeping out from around it, which the black version of the white one does, but using whatever your channel colours are. And so that's what I've ended up doing. And thank you, Squibble, for saying that you like them. I do appreciate that. I've learnt a little bit about how to do a couple of distortions as well, but also things from when I've been doing photos for our urns and stuff, where you play with the contrast and the brightness of the picture so that you get the impact, the punchiness of the strong contrast between light and dark, which is basically kind of how my face is at the moment, because this has not actually been set properly. I had something else changed. I did a fiddle with something to try and correct it, and then I found out what had changed and put that back and didn't quite get this the same. Well done, Blue, that's great. And whoever else was doing the puzzle, that's one of the fishing boats. I do have some more puzzles actually, and I had fun finding them, so I'm just going to find the next one. Oh, this one. These two here I was thinking of while you were doing that puzzle, and I was thinking, oh, I want to show this one. Oh, I want to show that one. So that's fishing boats in Scotland's Isle of Skye, which is one of the ones off the western coast of Scotland. So let's go back to jigsaw puzzle. Anyway, so it's lots of fun actually playing around if you ever want to do photo emotes, just for the fun of it, not that you have to have a reason for doing them. What you can do is you take a photograph and you you want a square, you're looking for something you can crop into a square shape. So create yourself a square frame and drag that around over the picture to where you want, or something like that, however you want to do it. Once you've got that, then once again, I'm not going to change the number of puzzle pieces because I don't want it to be too hard. Once you've picked the bit of the photograph that you have taken of yourself, just a random bunch of photos or ones that you think are funny, stop looking for something to meet a specific need. This is how to get the really fun ones. Stop looking for ones that meet a specific need, like wow and what are the other ones that people do? LOL and all that sort of stuff. That's what I originally was going to do. A bunch of standard emotes, but specific to me. So stop looking for those ones if you've just taken a bunch of photos. I actually just took a video and then did screen caps from the video because they're going to be shrunk down so small it doesn't matter. So once you've got those, then you, I need to put this in here. I'm trying to talk and do something at the same time. You know that this is what's wrong, don't you? Save. Yes, jigsaw puzzle is go. If you put that in there, it should work for you. So then you have a look at this cropped little bit of picture and you go, that's like so-and-so. You know, what does it evoke for you? There's one where I happened to be blinking in the video at the time, and so therefore it's the one that's become my zzz one, like sleeping. Which, this one here, I'll just put it in the chat. Just because I had my eyes shut at the time, and I thought, works. And then you use your own channel colors. If you've got any colors that you always use all the time for what you're doing with your streaming, you use those, and that helps to brand it for you. Things don't have to look accurate, photographically accurate. You play with the brightness and the darkness, the contrast, so it's almost like there's no in-between colors. You have the strong shadows, you have the strong outlines. Oh, thank you so much. And that's great. I love the fact that you enjoy it. That was one I wasn't even, I'd made it and then I thought, well, shall I even bother putting that up? Because nobody's going to use that. And then I thought, yeah, I'll put it up because, and I was actually thinking of my Kiwi viewers. I was thinking, oh, one of them's probably going to try and tease me about the fact that I put them to sleep while I'm reading. I don't mind if you're going to sleep, that's fine. But I thought that was probably how it was going to get used, was somebody would be teasing me about going to sleep. Anyway, so, but that's basically all I did. And then you save them and then you could make sure that they're the right size. And when you're doing emotes, don't do too much detail. Remember, it's going to be the size literally of your thumbnail, that little bit there on the screen. You can't see detail. So people work with an image that's this big to create an emote, and then they're horribly disappointed because it looks muddy, murky, because there's too much detail in it. You actually want a little bit of a rough outline, a chunk of colour, and something like that, just to show whatever it is you're after, rather than lots and lots of lovely detail, because it's never going to be seen, because when you load them online, if it's for Twitch, the maximum is 112 pixels, which is not big. And then you also have the scaled down versions, which are even smaller. So yeah, and you've got to look at shrink it down to that sort of size and smaller and see if you can still kind of make out what it is, what for the purpose that it is. Anyway, enough of that. And that's another thing you can put over in Discord server if you want, is actually just let me know if there's any particular things that would make for a great emote, because I'm always on the lookout for that. Eventually, when I have more emote slots available, I can actually do animated ones, as in I have room to do animated ones on my emote slots, but I just haven't done them yet. And I also need to do some more sub ones. I've only got one that's a sub emote. And that's one of the ones I used an app to try and do a cartoonized version before I started doing my version. Anyway. There you go. There's your food ASMR. Right. Wash it down with some coffee. Just before I get started reading again, and I am about to, for those of you who are watching this when I'm not live, because I know everyone who's here at the moment knows this information. So this is for visitors who come along later on and watch this, or people over on YouTube. I'm part of a group of readers called Codex, and we read public domain books on Twitch. And some of us, like me, then also put the videos over onto YouTube. Now, on YouTube, you will just see this bit here, the video window. I trim the rest off because I haven't yet figured out what to do about the fact that there's a jigsaw puzzle there, and it's probably of no relevance to you whatsoever if you're on YouTube, because you can't interact with it. So I just cut that distraction out. I may change that later on. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so Codex are a group of people who each of us, the one thing we have in common is we read public domain books live on Twitch. And there's like I say, there's a group of us. We actually now have an official Twitch team, and the link for that is down in my About page on Twitch. And also, if I give you the Codex link command, for those of you who are actually watching the VOD on Twitch, you'll see the chat as well. So therefore, I've given it to you. It's got a link in that little bit that I just put up there for the Twitch team, Codex Twitch team, as well as our Codex Discord server. Now, the Discord server is for anyone who's interested in discussing the books and getting involved with the book club and all that sort of stuff, which we've got one coming up in September, towards the end of September, because they've got back into the school year over in North America, Northern Hemisphere. So that it makes more sense now to actually do book club again. They take a break during summer holidays over there. So if you want to be involved with any of those things, join the Discord server, and also go to the Twitch Codex team page, and you'll see who's currently live. I'm probably there at the moment, unless somebody's gone live since I'm live, and it will show you, and you'll probably actually see me talking live over on the Twitch Codex team page. But yeah, come and join the Discord server, find out more about it. The readers are a really diverse lot. We've got school teachers, librarians, actors, audiobook narrators, all sorts of different things. There are other people as well on top of that, and I can't remember what everyone's job is. Almost all of the readers read in English. There is, I think, one reader who reads in Portuguese, I think. It would be great to have some more people in the group too. So Twitch Codex. I'm the only one who only reads children's books. And while I can still get hold of public domain children's books that are going to be of vague interest to read, I will be reading children's books. The others, sometimes they read children's books, sometimes they will read part of a book. They don't always read a whole book, but most of the other books are actually books that are written for adults. So not adult content, but books that don't intrigue children in particular. But also most of the readers also do other things like gaming and chatting and all sorts of things like that. One of the guys specializes in doing his streams as ASMR. So he is reading, but he's also got sounds going on in the background. There's a fire crackling or rain falling, things like this. And he has a nice calm backdrop to what's going on around him. Some lovely twinkly lights. He wears different hats depending on what he's reading, all sorts of things like that. We've got someone who plays Euro Truck Simulator and also American Truck Simulator some of the time when he's not reading. He only reads in his public holiday season, which is summer and winter. He's in Japan. He's American, but he's in Japan. But because he has to use his voice a lot for his work, he doesn't do his reading streams then because he does voices for his reading streams. They're hilarious sometimes. But he uses his voice quite strongly in different textures. And so he can't do that when he's doing his work year because his work year is what he needs to save his voice for. So he will do game stuff. But it's a great way to get to know a different bunch of people. And they really are a neat bunch of people. So please come along and join him. And when I get myself sorted out, I will try and remember to tell you what the actual date is for the reading club. Because what we do is sometimes there'll be questions that have been submitted and stuff like that beforehand, but then we will have a discussion about the current book live on Twitch. And several of the streamers will be streaming it live at the same time. And so you'll actually see an overlay that has like 4 or 5 different streamers all in discussion together. We're not in the same place. It's a bit like a Zoom meeting kind of thing, but discussing things together, voicing opinions about what we thought something meant or what it reminded us of. Sometimes it will be talking about the differences between a book and a TV series based on the book, or a movie or something, or a radio play or whatever. And the one that we've got coming up is in the book itself is not public domain, so we will not be reading the book online, but we will be discussing the book online. So the book is in the Ender series. Do you remember the book Ender's Game, or the movie Ender's Game? Well, it's another one from that. They actually started book club with Ender's Game. And so what they're doing is we're revisiting that whole thing because it's coming up to the anniversary of Codex and its previous form, which I can't remember the initials of, sorry. Actually, sorry, my brain just went sideways. This is ADHD. Welcome to it. It's lots of fun. So what we're doing is revisiting another book from that universe, basically, and then discussing it. And it's apparently the book is not too long, so it is doable. But it's a read in your own time. It will not be read on stream just because of copyright. So cool. I haven't read it yet, but I have watched the movie and I've heard a bit about it. I have not checked since the summer ends next week in Twitch speak. Yeah. Because winter is ending next week for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. That's cool. Yeah, so yeah, the book has been picked. The book oh, sorry. I don't know if it's been fully announced yet. I'm not going to tell you what the title is until I know exactly what it's meant to be. Yeah, I heard it's good too. And there were people who loved the movie and there were people who absolutely hated the movie. Just because of inaccuracies between them and things like this. But you cannot make a movie that is accurate to a book because the way a story plays out in your head is different to the way a story plays out on a screen. The way it plays out in your head from the little marks on the page. It's like magic. Reading is, these little black squiggles and dots and things on a white surface made out of a dead tree, possibly. And then it draws pictures inside your head, and they can be the same pictures as somebody else, but perceived slightly differently. It's almost like magic. Yeah, no, you go and get yourself a hot drink. I wonder if the cold's coming north. It probably is. So Squibble is south of me. Sorry, I'm just going to try and get myself back in focus. That was odd. I don't know why it did that. Yeah, and you got an hour for film as opposed to much more in books. If you go literally for how long it takes for a book to process right through, it's like days and days. There's no way you can get all that information into a movie. Or a TV series is the nearest you're going to get to it, but even then, and you get bogged down. Like, I don't need that much detail when I'm watching something. You're going to make me sit here for half an hour and look at the trees and listen to the birds if they're not my thing, just because that's part of the mood that you want to set in a TV series or a movie. Oh, anyway. Speaker for the Dead. Oh, I liked it, but it might need to read. I haven't actually read it yet, so Blue is actually over in the Discord server checking out what's going on. So that's cool. I'm glad you said it. Speaker for the Dead is one of the Ender books. And so that's the one that's going to get discussed. But yeah, you need to read it in your own time. And I have actually got it out of the library. I've requested the actual book, the ebook, and I have also downloaded the audio book. So the audio book's about 5 hours, I think, which I'm fairly certain that means it will be an accurate reading of the book rather than an abridged reading of the book. Some of the other ones that I've listened to recently, which were unabridged, or that were Agatha Christie's, have been like 6 to 8 hours. So that sounds about right. Anyway, I'll finish this. That's what's going on. So please join Codex and go and follow the various Codex readers. Subscribe to them, especially if you've got Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime, which gives you a free Twitch sub every month. And if you haven't used it yet, go and find one of the Codex readers that you really enjoy listening to and subscribe to them using it, because it's not going to cost you anything additional to what you're already paying if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. It's not something I do. I don't have an income, and also we don't get the advantage of expedited shipping, because New Zealand, it's still going to take me a week to a month to get anything. Telling me that it's an overnight service is a bunch of stories. Insert inappropriate words here, stories. Anyway, bunch of baloney. So I don't get an advantage for that either. There's enough streaming services that I have access to without paying for yet another streaming service, so I don't even need that. And if something is really popular, eventually it will come to some of the other services. Won't be currently still popular by the time it comes. It'll be off Amazon's streaming service, but it will eventually come to some of the other locations as well, just because that's the way things happen. Once they've milked it enough, then they sell the rights to use it to other places, and so it becomes available to the rest of us. So yeah, I don't have enough time to watch all of the things that I want to watch on the other ones, so why would I take that one up? So anyway, that's why I don't have Amazon Prime. I live in New Zealand. Amazon. They kept trying to change me over to the Australian Amazon at one stage, because I use the American one, because that's technically the international Amazon if you don't have it in your own country. They tried to stick me over onto the Australian one, and then seemed to get their nose out of joint because I didn't want to be on there because I couldn't get ebooks there. Why would I join a service that I only use for getting ebooks, buying ebooks, if I can't buy ebooks through it? And I don't even know why in New Zealand I could not get ebooks from the Australian one back then, considering we're technically as close as we are. It's the closest significant country to us. So now they've improved that, but even then, it's their idea being that we can get things shipped from Australia if we use the Australian Amazon, and therefore it costs less for us and for them because it's partially subsidised by them for the freight to a certain degree. Anyway, so I can't get half the stuff that I want to get if I go through the Australian store, because they only sell what's in stock in Australia. So once again, why go to the Australian Amazon if I can get everything I want through the American one? I just have to wait a bit longer for it to ship. And then occasionally you get a lovely surprise. I ordered something, a tool part for my husband one day from the American one, because that's the only one I use. And I thought, oh, well, we'll see that in a month's time, 6 weeks' time. We'll see how long it takes. It arrived the next week. It's like, what? How did that happen? Somebody got on a plane and brought it here specifically? Not quite, but still. And I didn't pay extra for it. Anyway, we'll read the last chapter of the book, okay? I'm Jev. I'm reading the story of Doctor Dolittle, which is the first of the Doctor Dolittle books by Hugh Lofting. And this is called The Last Chapter, Home Again. March winds had come and gone. April's showers were over. May's buds had opened into flower, May being mid to late spring, and the June sun was shining on the pleasant fields when John Dolittle at last got back to his own country. Not sure what the fisherman was doing for his livelihood with, since he didn't have his boat all that time. Oh dear. Let's not worry about that. That we'll call, in our family we call that a continuity error. We watch a lot of movies, and one of the gifts of being autistic is you notice little details of things that a lot of people don't see. And so you notice when, oh, they did that. I wonder if that's significant or it's something that they've overlooked and didn't realize that that shouldn't have been like that. Like they used thermal gloves to pull out the antidote from the super cold deep freeze thing and put it onto the bench. And you've got this dry ice clouds coming out around it. They pulled it out with their super cold proof glove, great big thing, and then it's on the bench. And she's holding on to the lady's holding on to the top of this container that has these vials in it that have been in the super cold freezer, and it's still sort of breathing these cold clouds around it in the normal room temperature. And she reaches out with her ungloved hand and picks up one of these vials off the rack. Anyone see anything wrong with this? She should have just frozen her fingers if it's that cold. She's using her bare hands to take... anyway, that sort of detail. It's the sort of thing that we pick up on all the time. Sometimes in a story you think something is a continuity error like that, and in actual fact it's because it's a little hint at something that's going on that you don't realise is going on until you're further into the story, and adds to rewatchability, those ones. But other ones, it's just like, oh, somebody wasn't paying attention. She's got a glove on one hand because it's so cold. Why has she not got a glove on the other hand? That sort of stuff. Anyway, yeah, it drives me nuts too, at times. We'll carry on with the actual story. So he's at last got back to his own country, but he did not yet go home to Puddleby. So he's got back to England, but not Puddleby. First he went travelling through the land. He's already actually in his own country because he's been down in Cornwall. Anyway, we'll ignore that. But he did not yet go home to Puddleby. First he went travelling through the land with the push-me-pull-you in a gypsy wagon, stopping at all the country fairs, and there with the acrobats on one side of them and the Punch and Judy show on the other. So very English, Punch and Judy. I suppose I should put a picture of that over in the Discord too. Punch and Judy Discord. And those of you who have no idea what that's about will then be able to find out without me distracting yet more from the story. We need to finish the story. Punch and Judy show on the other. They would hang out a big sign. Excuse me. I'm okay. I just need to clear my throat. Tickle one side of the back of the throat. Sometimes happens. Anyway, they would hang out a big sign which read, "Come and see the marvellous two-headed animal from the jungles of Africa." All in caps. Admission, 6pence. It was probably quite a bit in those days. And the push-me-pull-you would stay inside the wagon while the other animals would lie about underneath. The doctor sat in a chair in front, taking the sixpences and smiling on the people as they went in, and Dab was kept busy all the time scolding him because he would let the children in for nothing when she wasn't looking. Yay, on the puzzle! Old Watch House in Polperrow, England. It's cool. I will give you the last one, actually, just because I think it's also a cool one, but it's going to be a fiddly one compared with that one. I just liked it graphically as being quite intriguing. But that's the sort of village I imagine the Fisherman coming from, this one here, with the little fishing boats down in front of down on the harbour, and then the cottage just up above it. And that was part of the reason why it really appealed. So I'll give you this one, and then I'll carry on reading. Oh, I'm going to make this one a few less pieces just because it's a bit fiddly. To make it easy, and I've only got one more chapter to go, okay? No, I'll make it easier than that. Right, that will do. I might actually make that slightly easier to see the pieces too. If it's something where there's like an animal or something like that, it's really easy to be able to pick them from the background, but when it's actually a solid object like this is, it can make it a little bit more complex. And I don't want to make it so it's so hard you don't want to use it. So there you go, the link for the jigsaw puzzle is ready to go. Right, we'll carry on. Get that up over there, get this over here. Here we go. And the push me Dab Dab was kept busy all the time scolding him because he would let the children in for nothing when she wasn't looking. This was because they were trying to raise money so that they had money to feed the rest of their animal family and to pay for the bills and all that sort of thing when they go back to Puddleby on the Marsh. And the menagerie keepers and circus men came and asked the doctor to sell them the strange creature, saying they would pay a tremendous lot of money for him, but the doctor always shook his head and said, "No, the push-me-pull-you shall never be shut up in a cage. He shall be free always to come and go, like you and me." Many curious sights and happenings they saw in this wandering life. I'm just checking that I did actually save that. Yes, I did. Good. In this wandering life. But they all seemed quite ordinary after the great things they had seen and done in foreign lands. It was very interesting at first, being sort of part circus. I've just got another picture to give you. I just need to pull it up. Being part circus and... oh, maybe I don't have it. No. Oh no, I'll find it for you. I've got it here. I'll just get it. I just know it's going to be coming up. No, that's not the one. That one. There it is. There was something more I needed to do. Sorry. Then I have to put it in the right folder. There you go. That folder. Save. Then get the other one. I try to save, when a picture has a caption, I try to save the caption as well as part of the title, just because it makes it a little easier to see the relevance later on when I'm actually reading it out to you, because sometimes I get these ready well ahead of time. And it just makes it easier to be able to pick it up and give it to you when it's time for reading it. So here we go. Open, and that one there. Oh, I've got to resize it, sorry. Nearly there. Illustrations, here we go. There's the picture. So it was very interesting at first, being sort of part of a circus, but after a few weeks they all got dreadfully tired of it, and the doctor and all of them were longing to go home. So the caption on this picture is, the doctor sat in a chair in front, or at the front. So there's the doctor in his chair, there's the steps that go up, this is the gypsy caravan. I'm going to move this a bit. So you've got a merry-go-round there and a big top tent, and you've got acrobats, and you've got animals and all sorts of things going on. And then there's the different sideshow things down the side here. I'll make this part of the picture a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about with the illustration. Come and see the amazing two-headed animal, is what it says here on the sign. There's Gub Gub, the pig. There's Dab Dab, the duck. Is that what it was? Anyway, and there's Doctor Dolittle sitting there ready to take some money for people coming in to see the animal, which is the push-me-pull-you. And he's refusing to sell it to anybody because he's not going to let it be put in a cage. Because to him, animals are real creatures that have their own feelings about things. And so we have to be kind to them, is what he's thinking. Right. Getting there. sorry, yeah, one more picture getting lined up, ready to go. And then I shall read. So we're nearly at the end. This is another one of those books that has a slightly odd, as in Project Gutenberg books, the last chapter looks extra long. It's not usually extra long. It's usually just that the actual book has a whole lot of aftermatter which talks about the production of the ebook that they're using. So that's what that is about. Anyway, it was the doctor and all of them were longing to go home. But so many people came flocking to the little wagon and paid the sixpence to go inside and see the push me pull you that very soon the doctor was able to give up being a showman. And one fine day when the hollyhocks were in full bloom, he came back to Puddleby, a rich man, to live in the little house with the big garden. And the old lame horse in the stable was glad to see him, and so were the swallows, who had already built their nests under the eaves of his roof and had young ones, and Dab was glad too to get back to the house she knew so well, although there was a terrible lot of dusting to be done, with cobwebs everywhere. And after Jip had gone and shown his golden collar to the conceited collie next door, he came back and began running around the garden like a crazy thing. Here you go, here's the other picture. There's Jip the dog. This is the garden. That's a weeping willow with a table under it, by the way, I think, unless it's a weeping birch. There's pig, Gub. Anyway, Gub. I'm trying to find where I am on the page. And he began running around the garden like a crazy thing, looking for the bones he had buried long ago, and chasing the rats out of the tool shed, while Gub dug up the horseradish which had grown 3 feet high in the corner by the garden wall. That's what Gub's doing over here. Oh, there's a sundial. And the doctor went and saw the sailor who had lent him the boat, and he bought 2 new ships for him and a rubber doll for his baby. Like we would have plastic. Back then they didn't have plastic, so they used rubber. And he paid the grocer for the food he had lent him for the journey to Africa, and he bought another piano and put the white mice back in it because they said the bureau drawer was drafty. Even when the doctor had filled the old money box on the dresser shelf, he still had a lot of money left. So it sounds like he's actually sold the pirate ship. And he had to get 3 more money boxes just as big to put the rest in. Money, he said, is a terrible nuisance, but it's nice not to have to worry. Yes, said Dab, who was toasting muffins for his tea. 'Tis indeed. And when the winter came again and the snow flew against the kitchen window, the doctor and his animals would sit round the big warm fire after supper, and he would read aloud to them out of his books. But far away in Africa, where the monkeys chattered in the palm trees before they went to bed under the big yellow moon, they would say to one another, I wonder what the good man's doing now, over there in the land of the white men. Do you think he will ever come back? And Polynesia, that's Polynesia the parrot, would squeak out from the vines, I think he will. I guess he will. I hope he will. And then the crocodile would grunt up at them from the black mud of the river, I'm sure he will. Go to sleep. There you go. Because those were 2 of his early animals. The end. And there's the doctor lazing about on a garden bench. Oh, goodness. There we go. So that's the end of the first of the Doctor Dolittle books. We shall have more at different times, but at the moment, that is it. So, yep, happy dance. We've finished. Great to have you here. Thank you for being here. I've had a lovely time reading to you, and I'm not going to do a raid today because my brain is not up to that, but I'm going to suggest, first of all, you go to my link for Codex, which is down in my About section. for the Twitch team and see if any of the readers are actually live now. And if they're not, then go to Hoot House or someone like that. Find yourself something else to listen to and enjoy. As I said before, thank you for being here. I really do enjoy having your company when I'm reading out loud. It's lovely. And to actually have people who are interested in the different asides that we get onto, the little rabbit trails, all that sort of stuff. So for now, I'm just going to say happy weekend because it's Friday here in New Zealand. Happy weekend until we see you next time. And I'm not quite sure what book we're going to have, but it will be a fun one. I'm not sure which one. But maybe you can make suggestions over in Discord, but it has to be public domain. In the meantime, have fun and happy reading. Thank you for being here. Good to see you all. Bye.